Hi guys, it's Mrs. Magana again. Welcome back. I am doing this video in continuation of my yesterday's post for the 3D tube project. Haha, remember we talked about toilet paper tubes that you probably will have around the house, or even a paper towel tube. Some things that are readily available to you to use to make some pretty neat projects. I almost said gifts. I suppose you could give them to someone at home. Anyways, tonight I'd like to start again with a quote, a bravery quote. Some of my docents, I was saying, were working on these earlier in the year, and as I was cleaning up my room yesterday, I noticed them and loved the way that they glittered and glowed. We did neon things. I brought them home just to borrow, but wanted to kind of feature a few of them in our videos. This one is from my lovely Ariana, and Ariana wrote on her quote, to try to be brave is, well, to be brave. I thought that was pretty powerful right now. So I know things are a little scary, things are definitely unknown, what to do and how your normal routine might be. And so things are a little different, but to just be brave, and that is actually, it's brave enough. So here we go. I also wanted to say, I will post this more, and especially for my own kids at school. I went again today. I know I'm nuts, but I'm pretty good now. I think I can work from home. But I put together these kits, little bags. I actually went to Meijer, thank you very much, this morning, and they donated to me all these plastic bags. And so I just compiled inside them a bunch of really easy materials that you probably have at home. But if you're going to be a student that might be able to get into school, everything's kind of still in the unknown, uncharted territory, let's say, you might be able to pick this up. If not, I'm of course going to show you everything that's in here. Even hinted at some things last night, like the newspaper. And then I did put the manila folder and a couple of drawing sheets. So a couple of things in the bag, and then did put in some printmaking supplies that we're gonna use later on. But again, things you definitely would have around the house, things that you can scrounge around, look for. But if you're at school and you do pick up your things, I've got these all set to go. All right, back to tube making. And I actually took this project in a different direction. I was talking about the pencils and crayon. However, I changed mine into a rocket. So I'm going to kind of show you a couple of ways to end that piece. I also hinted at this amazing art teacher. Her name's Cassie Stevens, and she put together a couple of books. So I know some of my artists are always looking for extra things to do and ways to create. I did buy her book a couple years back, and this project that she has, you can see in here, pencil crayon, is listed in this. And she uses a couple of really cool supplies that we will use in 4th grade, in fact, the claycrete or celluclay. So something really cool, but I know you probably don't have that at home. And so we just kind of made it work with our own, remember that, paper mache paste made out of flour and water. All right, another thing for my rocket that I was thinking about, just dropping pencils in the background here, is tissue paper. I bet if you scrounge mom's supplies of wrapping paper, you might find some tissue paper inside. Probably doesn't look like mine, but you might be able to find something. And I thought that was kind of a cool idea to add for the liftoff mechanism on your rocket. I was thinking about this later. I'm like, I could have done, flames or red or yellow, but I chose to kind of do the Brewers thing today. If you don't know this about me, I'm a huge Brewers fan, so definitely really upset about the delay to the season. I totally get it. I'm glad that they had the chance to choose to go home if they wanted to. Some are staying in Arizona, and so I'm definitely representing my crew tonight. I was even crazy enough and lucky enough to get married on the field, so pretty big diehard. So blue and yellow theme of the day here for us as we start to get to work. Now, as you're beginning to possibly paint your rocket, I thought about, or pencil by the way, I thought about adding something you might even have too, tin foil. So what I did earlier this evening was I took my cardboard And I mean, I actually cut this, and this is from my own house. I got a Target order, don't remember what I got, but I had a box that I cut up. So you could totally do this too. Maybe even the cereal box idea would get you a piece of cardboard. And I even had like diaper boxes around the house, and so you might have something that you're not even thinking you would have to use. Even the lid, sometimes I've used the end of the box, but I cut off the little sides. Definitely ask before you do that though. Okay, so box. I cut this into kind of a rectangle square dealio, and I was cutting this then into a triangle. So you know, if you have a square, you cut it diagonally, you will get 2 triangles, and they will be symmetrical. So that's what I had. And then again, I used something you probably have, masking tape. I find it a little bit stronger than Scotch tape, and so you might have that as well. But what I did was, you can see here, I always leave a little bit blank so you can kind of tell what's going on. But I taped that little piece to my paper mache. It dried really well. I talked about, not loading it on with the goo. And I did leave this outside, and my one son brought it in like 20 minutes later. I'm like, it's not dry yet. But it was nice enough today that it definitely dried and worked out well. So taped on my little thin dealio guys here, and then wrapped tin foil. And again, I just cut a piece, okay, nothing crazy. I had rolled mine up, or a student did, and it's got like really crazy crinkle, but it looks totally fine. And then what I used to glue it down with, Little Elmer's glue. I actually borrowed these from school, and they're pretty emptied, so you don't need a lot. In fact, we always say, ... not a lot, okay? So I stuck this on, I kind of creased it over before I painted. I suppose you could totally do it afterwards, but I felt like with all the tape and everything, it would be okay. Now, paint. I would suggest you use something called tempera paint, or even, I have a lot of these laying around. Some of you might, or your mom might have a project, or someone at your house with these little apple barrel paints that are pretty cheap. I had these guys too. I took home just to use a little bit of neon. And so I also put in your package, and not for this necessarily, but you could always use egg cartons to pour paint into. A lot of the schools I work at, we do this, and it works out great because it's a really easy cleanup, and you don't mix your paint if you don't want to. Again, I've got my messy mat tonight, so even just a piece of newspaper. I did pour out some paint on my newspaper again, so I can fold this and get rid of it. And I'm gonna get started on my rocket. Okay, so I, of course, had picked, I told you why, blue, so I'm dipping into blue to paint at the base here for my brewers, and yellow. And the reason why I also picked that is because we pull out our color wheel, blue and yellow do mix up to what? Green. So if I combine these two in the center, I'm gonna kind of get this really cool gradient effect, which is pretty popular, of green. Okay, so I had to be careful though how I started this. In fact, I probably should have gone, we always say the lightest color first, which was yellow. I started with blue, oh well. But it would work a little bit easier to blend then. You'd get more yellow showing, and it won't immediately turn to green, okay? So I started that, and then I did the top, obviously with yellow, rinsed my brush. I almost rinsed it in my coffee cup. I left this out on the side, and I almost dipped it in. Whoopsies. So definitely don't do that. But I rinsed it again in the water to switch the color to paint the top. Then I had some black and some white. You could even use, if it dried, a Sharpie. I started even adding on little Sharpie designs to the fin then too, to give it a little more interest and a little bit more pizzazz, I guess you could say, for your rocket. Now, the bottom, all I did for my little craziness here is I took the tissue paper and just cut a vertical line down, and then attached it with a little bit of glue, a little bit of tape. In fact, I almost wanted to stick a staple in it. Don't do that, but I ran out. So it worked out just fine. Totally stayed in. Voila. Good to go with my rocket ship. So again, pencil, would totally work. I did this one with paper, with yellow paper. Chances are you don't have really thin yellow paper at home, so you could just paint it yellow. Or even you could go the crayon route. I'm gonna grab a crayon really quick behind me here. And you could paint on, you know, the crayon logo. The middle part of this is a tint, which means you add white and mix up that color that way too. So up to you how you want to kind of finish that off. But again, easy. You got tubes at home. And that was my rocket ship project that I had just completed from my first video. Okay, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to get ready for another project, something that my third graders have also kind of just finished, so I can show you a couple of cool examples, but a really easy way to make a pretty effective, pretty stunning work of art that we call a landscape. All right, well, thank you guys. I will be right back, prepped up for the second project, so you've got a couple of things that you can get busy making. Thank you.